This is the Sales Advantage. Welcome to Strategic Business Planning for Sales Professionals. My name is Marshall Northcott. I am a seasoned consultative sales professional and corporate trainer. This e-learning module is designed to provide a framework and set you up for success in the creation of a strategic business plan for your sales territory. You are encouraged to take notes during the training module. The narrated portion of the module is broken into 9 separate sections known as learning paths, which total 90 recorded minutes. You may pause the program or take a break at any time during the learning paths, and the learning management software will keep track of your progress. In addition, there are 4 mini-timed quizzes to evaluate your understanding of each section of the e-learning module and a final exam. Use the graded quizzes to measure your progress throughout the module in preparation for the exam. Each quiz and exam question have a 90-second time limit, and the quizzes and the exam also have a time limit. You cannot pause the quizzes or exam once you begin. The information in this module will help you create a plan that will help you achieve your sales revenue goals by building a strong sales territory and/or customer base. We will review the basics of strategic business planning. In most cases, our training modules are designed to provide you with answers in the form of information. What makes this module unique is the focus is to provide you with questions. In order to create a strategic business plan, you must know what questions you need to ask yourself. The training will help you through the thought process and provide you with the framework. Points of discussion include an action plan, past, present, and future market trends, anticipated challenges or obstacles, revenue goals, regional or geographic focus, awareness of various market and/or product segments, and understanding your competition. In the finale, we will highlight a summary designed to prepare you for the creation of a SWOT analysis. As part of our learning objectives in this e-learning module, we will discover tips, techniques, and ideas to help you create a plan that will empower you to meet and exceed your annual sales revenue goals, break down your annual sales goals into smaller amounts that are more manageable, and monitor your sales activity and make your sales results more predictable, identify obstacles, problems, and opportunities that will impede or aid in the completion of your objectives, and pinpoint specific requirements for assistance, support, or training in order to achieve your desired targets. Allocate time and resources towards accounts, product segments, and customers that clear the path towards successful execution and are more likely to produce your sales revenue commitments. Although I consider myself to be an analytically minded individual, I cannot say that strategic thinking was something that came naturally to me. In my professional life, I have been trained to be a doer rather than a planner, and I believe this happens with the majority of people who are on the front lines in most sales careers. I was taught to apply strategic thinking skills to major account or complex sales opportunities. However, I never found myself in a role where I was asked to think of myself or my sales territory or accounts like a business unit of the company that I work for. It wasn't until I started my own training business that I actually became interested in or felt the need for strategic thinking and planning on a grander scale. My interest, knowledge, and respect for the need and application of these skills and practices grew further when I took on 2 separate executive roles in nonprofit organizations. When you become answerable and accountable legally and morally to others for financial donations, membership fees, long-term stability, and even the livelihood of others, it puts a whole new spin on the topic and reshapes your perspective. At least it did for me. What does strategic thinking mean, or what does it mean to be a strategic thinker? Investing time, physically and mentally planning and preparing for something specific or for a broad number of activities, events, and desired or expected outcomes. Considering not only the moment at hand or an immediate time frame, but also the long term and the potential consequences of actions or inaction. Asking yourself a variety of questions and then searching for responses to ensure that every possible option, potential outcome, and angle has been given the necessary consideration. giving thought and consideration to others who are somehow involved in or connected to the plan and desired outcomes to allow for their input, assistance, and coordinating of schedules. To some degree, it is a form of goal setting at a personal and/or corporate level. How is it different from other forms of thinking? Often with other forms of thinking, you are searching for answers based on questions being asked, problems presented, or challenges at hand. With strategic thinking, the first and most important step is determining what questions you should be asking yourself before considering the possible answers. It requires an upfront investment of time that can be very extensive. The information should be documented in a professional format so that it can be presented, if necessary, and also so that you can gauge its accuracy and monitor and measure your progress to make necessary corrections. It can be abstract, conceptual, involve some risk, and require some experienced guesswork. Why is strategic thinking necessary? To address complex challenges that require a higher degree of mental energy, for planning anything that needs a greater depth of attention to detail, to address situations where there is a demand for thinking many steps ahead of the present, in instances where there is a great deal at stake where advancing prior to thinking could jeopardize opportunities and/or relationships. When or under what conditions is it important to be a strategic thinker? If there is a great deal at risk and success is dependent upon advanced planning. Under adverse conditions when the market is volatile and competitive threats exist. When the luxury of time or a second chance does not exist. If you are being counted on by others and there is very little, if any, margin for error. In situations where someone else needs to see that you have thought ahead into the future in order to have confidence in your direction and decisions. When contingency and backup, worst or best case scenario, planning is necessary. Is strategic thinking difficult? Yes, it can be, especially for an individual that procrastinates or has a personality that opposes the structure, discipline, and time investment necessary. For some people, this manner of thinking is effortless because they naturally think and process thoughts and ideas in this manner. Others, who have received proper training, mentoring, and role modeling, will also have an easier time with this style of thinking. For those who don't view problems or challenges this way and aren't gifted problem solvers who take a broad view and consider both actions and consequences, they will experience varying degrees of difficulty, or strategic thinking may be considered impossible. It can be very difficult for people who are action-oriented and have a high need to be in motion because they feel it is a waste of precious time that is better spent in the hunt or doing something that produces an immediate, tangible result. Can anyone become a strategic thinker? What prevents some people from thinking strategically, or why would they be resistant to it? As mentioned previously, it is a skill that comes naturally for some, or for others that have received the proper training. For those whose brains run at a hyperspeed or in a lethargic manner, the strategic thinking process will either seem like a bother that gets in the way of achieving results, or an extra step that creates unnecessary workload. It is possible for almost anyone to learn to think this way. Progress and results will depend upon the degree of resistance that they have, intellect, the leader or teacher's ability and patience, and when and if they have a revelation that causes them to see the value of the thought process. What are the advantages and benefits of strategic thinking and planning? Why is it worth the investment of time? It can help you leverage your strengths and protect yourself against weaknesses. The big picture visual helps you to make your business building efforts more fruitful, the results more predictable, and gives you an overall sense of confidence and control in where you are going. It forces you to reflect on and learn from where you have come from, and then use that knowledge for personal and professional growth, and also to stretch your mind and consider exciting new possibilities. The consistent practice of strategic thinking disciplines makes you a more mature and well-rounded business professional who exudes the degree of confidence that is necessary for managing more sophisticated sales accounts, selling opportunities, sales departments, divisions, and even companies. As I have come to appreciate the value of strategic thinking in business planning, I have begun to encourage clients and business executives to make it a responsibility of sales staff. It is an ideal way to determine who your future leaders may be as part of succession planning. Those who embrace the thought and planning process are likely better suited for management roles because they have come to understand the value and necessity for these skills. In addition, they will be quite comfortable doing so as a manager and teaching the practice to their team members. If you were going to build a house, what would be some of the essential resources, collateral, and specific assistance that you would require? Give it some consideration. What would you add to the list? Did you think about the essentials that you would require? What came to mind? In thinking about the essentials that you would require, you likely included some of these points to your list: land, property, a building site, architect, drawings, an approved design plan, tools, knowledge, contractors, specialty tradespeople, finances, vendors, supplies, materials, permits, time or a timeline, lawyer, legal assistance. Is there anything missing from the list? If you had to prioritize these points in order of significance, which would you list as the most important and least significant? What would you think of someone who dived into a project like this without having some sort of concrete plan and sense of direction? Chances are you wouldn't have a very high opinion of someone who took on a project such as this without having a formalized, documented plan in place and a clear understanding of the project's scope. You would think they are unprofessional, whimsical, misguided, lack direction, clueless, unrealistic. Your confidence in them would be minimal at best, and failure is inevitable. If you're like the majority of salespeople, you think having to sit, think, and plan for an extended period of time is cruel and unusual punishment that only a person who dreams up make-work projects would force upon you. I can empathize with your point of view. I can also assure you from personal experience that this exercise isn't a make-work project. When you are asked to do a task, your attitude and the spirit in which you receive the request is critical to the experience and your success. If you view this as something you are doing for them versus something you are doing for yourself, then it will likely be a grueling process that you just want to survive. Will your opinion ever change? That's up to you. If you will take the information provided in this module to heart, put it into practice by preparing, presenting, and then monitoring your progress for the following year, you will never again need to be sold on the idea or convinced to repeat this exercise again, because you will have first-hand experience and a full understanding of its value. Using the same analogy outlined on the previous slide, if you were going to build a sales territory or customer base, what would be some of the essential resources, collateral, and specific assistance that you would require? Many of the resources necessary for success in your sales role will be provided by an employer, including the items that may be provided for you if you are going to build a sales territory or customer base from scratch. Some of the essential resources that you would require are marketing materials, brochures and business cards, a website, support staff, departments, internal staff, accounting system, a strategy, plan of attack, sales staff, expectations, goals and objectives, finances, a target customer base, vendors, suppliers, and inventory, knowledge, target market, competition, products, services, sales, and business skills, understanding of trends, economy, time, timeline, logistics, resources, tools, sales aids, information, support, internal and/or external, from various departments such as technical, accounting, etc. Network of contacts, people you can count on for leads and potential business. Equipment, computers, projectors, cell phone. Facilities, physical working location. Take a look at the list of items that have been presented on this slide and prioritize them in order of significance. If tools and resources are provided for you by your employer, you can eliminate those from the list and focus your attention on the items that you can control that ultimately have an impact on your results. This concludes step number 1 of the learning path. Please click on the green Next button with the white arrow in order to advance to the next step.